Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Sleep. Here's my book, Let's Talk About Sleep. I'll leave the Amazon link to in the description box below. What I wanted to talk about today was something really interesting called the Glymphatic System. So, you've probably heard of the lymphatic system, which is basically the waste removal process in our body. Every cell in our body goes through normal metabolism, right? So takes in oxygen, does its function, produces carbon dioxide and other things, and that waste has to be taken away and then, gotten rid of by the body, okay? So the majority of our organs have access to the lymphatic system, okay? So, for example, the liver, right, does its process, it detoxifies things in the body, and then to get rid of it, it goes through the lymphatic system, and then it's excreted out by the body. Now, the brain does not have that. Okay, the brain does not have a waste filtration system the way the other organs do. So, for years, people were trying to figure out how does waste get removed from the brain? Because it obviously does, right? So how? Because all the organs in the body, all the cells in the body, the brain, the neurons, and the supporting cells, they go through metabolism. They have to get rid of the bad stuff, if you will, right? So in the brain, what there are neurons, which is basically the functional component, cellular component of the brain, which has the synapses, which are the little space between them, which we think controls thought and our daily functions and all the things that we associate the brain doing, okay? But that's not all we have. We also have supporting cells, okay? So these cells basically, they provide nutrients to the neurons, they provide structure to the brain itself, okay? They probably do have some function in terms of thoughts and memories. No one really knows for sure. But anyway, so you have the neurons and the supporting cells, okay? So what's been found, so in 2013, a study was done in rats and mice, looking at the brains of these creatures and what happens when they go into deep sleep. Okay, so when we fall asleep, it's not like a light switch, our brain just goes off. Our brain cycles through the different stages of sleep. So there's REM, which you may have heard about, which is rapid eye movement sleep. That's when we tend to dream. And then there's non-REM. So it's not the naming is not super creative, but REM and non-REM. And what happens is the non-REM stages, they get deeper and deeper and deeper. What we have is called, so N1 is very light sleep, non-REM stage 1, very light sleep. Non-REM stage 2 is kind of our baseline, and then non-REM stage 3, or N3, this is the deepest form of non-REM sleep. This is very, very difficult to wake up from, but this is kind of the most bang for the buck, if you will, type of sleep. We get about 20-ish% of our night we spend in this sleep. A lot of good things happen when we go into non-REM stage 3 or non-REM 3. One of those is growth hormone gets produced. Okay, so there's a lot of good stuff on top of that, of probably consolidating memories and other things which we're figuring out. So anyways, getting back to the rats and the mice, what they found was that when those rats, I'm just going to say rats from here on in, when those rats go into non-REM stage 3 in their brain's version of it, what happens is the supporting cells I just told you about, they actually shrink down. Okay, so it's fascinating. Those supporting cells shrink down, and what that allows for is the cerebrospinal fluid, the brain fluid, via a kind of like a convection, right? So how the weather and the wind are created, this convection processes. That same aspect is allowed to happen in the brain. So what happens is the supporting cells shrink down. That allows for kind of a filtration mechanism to occur, and the body is able to, or the brain rather, as I should say, is able to get rid of or wash away all the bad products that would have been left behind otherwise. Okay? So when this process was found, they labeled it the glymphatic system. Okay? So the supporting cells I told you about, they're called glial cells. So glial, lymphatic. All right? So that's fascinating, and it's been shown actually to be the case in humans as well. All right. So for thousands and thousands of years, humans have been trying to figure out why we sleep. Now we know why we sleep just from a being alive perspective. We need to have it, right? But this was the first time it was actually shown in a real kind of granular way why sleep is so important for us. So why is this important for humans? Well, those products that get left behind, right? So whether they be proteins or protein byproducts, those things, not over one night, but over decades and decades and decades, if they are left behind, okay, they can build up. And when those things get built up, they're toxic to the neurons. That leads to eventually things like Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease, which in the case of Parkinson's, there's a thing called alpha-synuclein, which is a toxic protein that gets built up, if it gets built up, I should say, is toxic to neurons. In Alzheimer's disease, one of the things that we think is playing a role here is this thing called tau. Okay, so these are like, again, abnormally configured proteins that, when left behind in large enough quantities, start to cause cell death, essentially. Okay, at least this is the theory. So what people are thinking is that because, or not because of, if people are not getting deep sleep over a many year stretch, perhaps they're more predisposed to developing a Parkinson's or a Alzheimer's or a neurodegenerative illness. Okay, so that's one aspect of this. Now, some people have said the other way. Well, perhaps these processes were already beginning, and that's why they're not getting deep sleep. Nobody really knows for sure. All we know, though, right now is that this process, this glymphatic process, happens when we go into deep sleep, which shows, amongst many other things, why it's so important for us to get good quality sleep. Not just quantity, but quality. Okay? So, as I always say in all my videos, if there's any possibility of you or your loved one having a sleep disorder, get it tested. Okay? There's no harm in getting it tested. Okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like it. Please comment in the comment section down below. I will try to answer any questions you guys may have in a video. If you liked it, please share it with your friends and loved ones. Please subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video. Sleep well.